The first thing Evelyn noticed was the quiet. It wasn't the peaceful kind of quiet, the sort you'd find on a calm morning. No, this silence was heavy, stifling, as if the town itself was holding its breath. And the longer Evelyn stayed, the harder it became to ignore. When she arrived in Blackwater, she had expected the warmth of a small-town welcome, bustling diners, gossiping neighbors, and the curious glances strangers always gave a newcomer. But here, the streets were too empty, the people too quiet. Smiles came easily, but words never did. At first, she tried to rationalize it. Small-town folk could be private. Maybe they were wary of outsiders. But after 2 weeks, Evelyn realized something else. This quiet wasn't just strange, it was wrong. No one ever stopped to chat. The grocer only gave her a tight-lipped smile as he packed her bags. Neighbors nodded in eerie unison when she passed, but no one ever spoke. Even the sound of a car door slamming or a dog barking was missing, as if the town had forgotten how to make noise. Still, it was the little things that unsettled her most. The way her kitchen window creaked open at night, though she always locked it. The faint scent of earth and something rotten that clung to the air when the wind changed. And the photograph, an old, brittle thing she found tucked behind the fireplace while unpacking. It showed a family standing stiff and blurred, their faces faded, except for their eyes. Their eyes burned with unmistakable fear. At first, Evelyn told herself she was imagining things, but the feeling of being watched never left. One night, unable to stand the silence any longer, Evelyn ventured to the town archives. The building was as quiet as the rest of Blackwater, the air thick with dust and something else, something old. She sifted through yellowed newspapers, her fingers trembling as the truth came into focus. Blackwater had secrets. Decades ago, the town had been the site of a series of disappearances. Entire families had vanished without a trace, meals left half-eaten, beds still warm. No signs of struggle, no bodies ever found. The reports ended abruptly, as if someone wanted them forgotten. And yet the town never moved on. It stayed frozen, waiting. That night, Evelyn awoke to the sound of whispers. At first, they seemed distant, like the rustling of leaves, but they grew louder, curling through her room in a tangled murmur. She sat up, her pulse hammering in her ears. The whispers were coming from downstairs. Barefoot and trembling, she crept toward the kitchen. The air grew colder with each step. When she reached the doorway, she stopped cold. The window gaped open, its lock twisted and broken. Beyond it, pale figures stood motionless in her yard. They didn't move, didn't speak. But their hollow eyes burned with the same fear as the photograph. They were watching her, waiting. One of them, a woman with hair trailing like wet ropes, raised a hand. Evelyn's blood turned to ice. Scratched into her palm were the words, "Help us." And in that moment, Evelyn understood. They weren't just watching. They were trapped. The next night, the whispers came again, but this time they were inside the house. Evelyn locked every door, every window, but the whispers grew louder, filling every corner. Shadows stretched unnaturally long across the walls, and when she turned, she swore she saw pale figures flicker just out of sight. The air turned frigid. Her breath hung in front of her in misty puffs. Something brushed against her ankle, cold and skeletal. She choked back a scream, stumbling into the living room. The photograph lay on the coffee table, but something had changed. The faces weren't blurred anymore, and in the far corner of the image stood a new figure, her own reflection, pale and hollow-eyed. A loud creak echoed from upstairs. Her heart pounded as she climbed the staircase, the whispers swelling with each step. The attic door stood ajar, and as she pushed it open, a wave of cold air swept over her. Dust filled the space, but in the center stood a wooden chest, its lid cracked open. Inside lay more photographs, dozens of them. Families with the same wide, frightened eyes. And at the bottom, a single piece of parchment, its message scrawled in jagged ink. "Speak for us or join us." A shadow fell across the attic floor. Evelyn turned, heart hammering in her chest, to find the pale woman standing in the doorway, closer now. Her lips parted soundlessly, her empty eyes filled with a desperate plea. And behind her, the others were coming. Evelyn backed away until her heels struck the wooden chest. "What do you want?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The pale woman raised her hand again, this time pointing toward the photographs. Evelyn hesitated, then reached down and pulled out the oldest one. The date scrawled on the back read 1924. She took a shaky breath. "I'll speak for you," she promised. The whispers fell silent. In the days that followed, Evelyn uncovered everything. How the town's founders had sealed away their sins, silencing the victims to protect Blackwater's image. Those who vanished were not lost. They were trapped, bound by the town's silence. Evelyn wrote it all. Names, dates, the truth no one wanted to hear. She sent the story to every paper she could, breaking the silence that had held Blackwater hostage for so long. The day her article was published, the air felt lighter. Neighbors spoke, dogs barked. And that night, when Evelyn checked the kitchen window, it was still locked. The ghosts were gone. But in the attic, the chest remained, empty now, except for one final photograph. It was of Evelyn. Her reflection wasn't hollow anymore, but in the background, faint and distant, the outline of the pale woman lingered. Watching. Waiting.